session with using an example from chapter 1 and 2. So for chapter 1, we're going to have 2 questions, and for chapter 2, we're going to have 1 question. So let's start with the basic game theory. Time magazine and Newsweek are considering which cover story to publish next week. Both of them have 2 alternatives to choose from: impeachment or financial crisis. Below there are 3 versions of game. A. Time and Newsweek are equally matched. This corresponds to the case when the game is symmetric. Time and Newsweek get the same payoff when both magazines cover the same story. But before we move on to solve the problem, we're gonna go back to the 4 questions. 1. Who are the players? Time and Newsweek, right? 2. What are the strategies? They can do either impeachment or financial crisis. 3. What are the rules? It's simultaneous, so they don't know which the other will choose to publish. And 4. What are the payoffs? Payoffs are the number of readers right here. So this is our payoff matrix. So let's see it. If Time chooses impeachment and Newsweek chooses impeachment, both will have the same number of readers of 45, I don't know million, but 45s, right? And if they both chooses financial crisis, they're gonna get both 20 each. So it means they are equally popular. But when they publish different stories, it's depending on the popularity of the topic. Impeachment will attract 90 and financial crisis will 40, right? So financial crisis attract 40 readers and impeachment attracts 90 readers. So let's solve. Does the game have a dominant strategy for both players? If yes, describe them. Can the game be solved by dominant strategy? So let's start with time, right? So what we have option is impeachment or financial crisis. We're gonna look at what? Times payoffs only. So we have 45, 40, 90, 20. So what we're doing is comparing the values up and down and see which one is bigger. So we see 45 is bigger and 90 is bigger. So what does that mean? Times has a dominant strategy of publishing impeachment, right? So time impeachment. What about Newsweek? So I have a little limited space. I'm gonna just erase it, okay? So for times we have impeachment. What about the Newsweek? Newsweek have 2 options, impeachment or financial crisis, as their publishing strategy. And we have 45, right? Now we're gonna take the right values only. 45, 90, 40, and 20. So if we compare left to right, strategy to strategy, which one is bigger? 45 is bigger. Which one is bigger? 90 is bigger. So also for the Newsweek, impeachment is better option. So with this dominant strategies of impeachment, the solution will be what? Both publish impeachment articles. Okay, B, determine all Nash equilibria. So when we're talking about the Nash equilibrium, we talk about what? When opponent choose impeachment, right? When Newsweek choose impeachment, what will be the better option for Times? And if Newsweek chooses financial, which one is better for Times, right? So let's see. If Newsweek chooses impeachment, which one is better for Times? 45 or 40? 45 is better, right? And what about financial crisis? If Newsweek chooses to publish financial crisis, right, then Times will choose impeachment also. So even though we're using a different method, we're looking for the same result of Time will publish impeachment article. What about Newsweek? If Time chooses impeachment, right, then Newsweek will choose impeachment, right? If Time chooses financial crisis, right, then Newsweek will choose impeachment. So we're going for the double checked, right? And we only have a double check in impeachment and impeachment, okay? So this is how we solve using dominant strategy and Nash equilibrium. And now let's look at a different situation where Time is less popular than Newsweek. This version of game corresponds to the assumption that the Time is less popular magazine. Time's payoff is less than Newsweek when both magazines cover the same story. Okay, so now we have different story, right? Before, when we have the same impeachment, we have 45, and in the, I don't know, 9, let me see, 45 and 45, and in financial crisis we have 20 and 20, but now we have the sum is same as 90, but 60 goes to Newsweek and 30 goes to Time when they choose the same cover story. So let's see. A, can the game be solved by a dominant strategies? If yes, describe them. Okay, so let's look at the Time first. So take Times, we have strategy 1, impeachment. Strategy 2, financial crisis, right? So in impeachment, we have 30, we have 40, and financial crisis, we have 90, 10. So if we compare 2, which one is bigger? 40. Which one is bigger? 90. Do we have dominant strategy 4 times? No. What about Newsweek? I'm gonna make it in here. Different color. Newsweek, right? We have impeachment and financial crisis. Let's see, impeachment, they'll get 60 and 90. For financial crisis, they'll get 40 and 30. So which one is bigger? 60 is bigger, 90 is bigger. So for Newsweek, they have a dominant strategy of publishing impeachment as a cover story, and Times doesn't have a dominant strategy. So what can we say about this is we can have it the B question at the same time. So what about the financial crisis for Newsweek? This is dominated strategy for Newsweek, right? So number A, can the game be solved by a dominant strategy? Yes, right? So Newsweek's dominant strategy is impeachment, right? So we only have this option, and in the inside of it, which one is better for Times? 30 or 90? We'll go for, right? 40. Sorry. So we'll go for the bigger one, 40. So the answer will be if we use the dominant strategy of impeachment to the Newsweek, the final answer solution for Times and Newsweek to publish is financial crisis for Time and impeachment for Newsweek. Right? Okay. B, can the solve by elimination of the dominated strategy? Same thing, we can eliminate it, right? So now the financial is gone. We only have to compare this, right? And also we have a better option for Times here. So in any case, we have a financial crisis and impeachment, which is for Time and Newsweek, right? Time publishes financial crisis, Newsweek publishes impeachment. And C, determine all Nash equilibria. Okay, so let's erase it and go back. So when Newsweek chooses impeachment, right, what is a better option for Times? Financial crisis. When Newsweek chooses financial crisis, which one gives a better option for Times? Impeachment, okay? And the other way. If Time chooses impeachment, right, which one is better option for Newsweek? Impeachment, right? And when Time chooses financial crisis, then what is the better option for Newsweek? Impeachment. So again, we have a double checked in financial crisis for Time and impeachment for Newsweek. So using 1, 2, 3, whatever method we're using, the answer will be same as Time and Newsweek. Combination will be financial crisis and impeachment. Okay, and let's look at the example from chapter 2, monopoly. So consider monopolies in a market. The market demand is P equals 118 minus Q, and the monopoly's total cost is 20Q. Okay. So we have a demand curve, right? I'm gonna draw first. We have a P, we have Q, we have a demand curve of 180 minus Q, so going down, okay? And we have a total cost equals to 20Q. So likewise, we're gonna start from the marginal cost because we have the total cost, right? So the marginal cost is the partial derivative of the total cost with respect to the size of the production. So we have what, 20Q, and we're taking that derivative to Q. So all we have is 20 times 1 times Q to the power of 1 minus 1, and we have $20 is a marginal cost for each unit to be made. Okay? And let's go for MR, marginal revenue. What is marginal revenue? Is the partial derivative of the total revenue with respect to the quantity, right? And what is total revenue? Total revenue is P times Q, the selling price times how many was sold, right? So we have a P, which is 180 minus Q times Q will be our total cost. So let's take that derivative into Q. So 180 Q negative Q to the power of 2 over Q. So we have 180 minus 2 times Q as a marginal revenue, right? And the solution for monopoly's problem was to make the marginal revenue equals to marginal cost, right? So we want to set that 20 equals to 180 negative 2Q. So marginal revenue was 180 minus 2Q equals to what? Marginal cost of 20. So what we're seeing is 2Q equals 160 and Q of, now we say optimum is 80, right? Now we have decided the optimum producing quantity. And with this optimum Q, we can find the optimum P with our demand function of 180 minus Q equals to P, right? So P star equals to 180 minus Q star, right? So we have the optimal price at 100, right? All right, and what's next? And let's check out the profit, consumer surplus, and the social welfare, okay? So again, I'm gonna draw it right here, 180 price quantity, right? And that's demand function of P equals 180 minus Q, and we have found the P star at 100, and we have C star at 20, and we got the Q star at 80, right? So we can connect everything together. So here we have consumer surplus, here we have profit, and together becomes social welfare. Right? So profit first. Profit is a square, right? A high of 100, low of 20 with starting point of 0 and 80 quantity, right? And we can make it into equation, right? The profit is what? Total revenue negative total cost, and total revenue is P times Q negative the total cost is C times Q, and we have what? P negative C times Q equals to our profit. One second. And we have P of 100 and C of 20 times Q of 80, so we have 6,400 of profit for this monopolist. Right? And what about the consumer surplus? Is a triangle, right? High of 180, 100 with 80 quantity, and we can solve it as what? 180 minus 100 times 80 times the half the size, since it's half of the square, right? So what we have is 6,400 times half, and the consumer surplus is 3,200. So in total, right, we can have the social welfare equals to profit of a firm plus consumer surplus equals to 9,600. Okay, so that was all I have prepared for chapter 1, 2 reviews, right? So when you have time, try to do it one more time by yourself, and you'll have very clear understanding about what we have covered in chapter 1 and 2.